NBA discussion and betting. We are back. It is a new month, November 1st, and there are not a ton of games to talk about, but we think we have a couple of good spots for you today as we get ready for pick and roll. I am your host, Jacob Gramegna. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is below. Also on YouTube with my channel, Amateur Sports. This is PipsNBA. Follow him at PipsNBA on Twitter, and we got some good topics to discuss today. Firstly, we want to discuss two teams in the Eastern Conference. We want to start off with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are 5-1 on the season, despite only having Darius Garland for less than half a game to open the season before an eye injury has knocked him out. But the Cavs have looked wonderful. They lost that opening game to the Raptors. Since then, they have won 5 games in a row. All of 5 of those games were won by at least 10 points. So, Pips, what have you been seeing from this Cavaliers team, and why are they looking so dominant?
They are just playing tough. They are competing. They are playing defense. They are playing hard. They don't allow any easy points. They are just competing for every ball. And there are some other guys like Wade and Kevin Love and Levert. Every game, one guy besides Mitchell is shown just crazy scoring and stuff. And Donovan Mitchell is playing one of the best on the best stretch I ever seen. Like I watched the game. The last game. This New York Knicks, and he scored 38 points, 12 assists, and 2 huge blocks. The major thing about this is he was known as a weak defender at the time at Utah Jazz, and from what I see in this season, he was amazing. He was not only an average defender, he was above average and some spite. I would say great. And he just straight up bowling 32 points on average, 7 assists, 45% from three. That's crazy. And the threes he makes and takes are just can be much difficult. Can be more
Yes.
difficult.
Yeah. So I say a lot of times on court activity is very contagious. So playing with a team that relies on defense like the Cavaliers maybe rubs off on Donovan Mitchell a little bit because his defense has been improved. On top of that, his offense just wild to start the season. Like the 32 points per game in the first 6 games. Small sample, but that's very impressive. Shooting nearly 50%. That's not quite sustainable, but nonetheless, I think he can have a career year here with Cleveland in the system that he's playing in, getting a lot of the touches right now. One thing I really like from him is that he's averaging 7.3 assists per game, which is would be not sustainable, but in my opinion,
Yeah.
but 2 full assists higher than his career high, moving the ball really well, getting Mobley involved, getting Jared Allen involved. There was criticism that he didn't really pass the ball to Rudy Gobert in Utah. Maybe there was a bit of
Yeah.
conflict there, but a lot of those things are out of the window, and the Cavs are a force to be reckoned with. They are second in the Eastern Conference, only to the next team we want to discuss, the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 6-0 on the season. Giannis en route potentially to his 3rd MVP, averaging 34 points per game on 59% shooting. Most impressively, they have the best defense in the league right now based on defensive rating. The Cavs, by the way, are in 3rd there. Are the Milwaukee Bucks the best team in the NBA and the team to beat for the championship?
For sure. And they are doing all this without Chris Middleton, who is like the by far best second best player. Some will say it's Drew Holiday, but when it's down to the playoffs,
Oh,
it's Chris
Middleton.
Middleton for me, without a doubt. And the interesting part about this is they won every game, and they are not. Some players are struggling. Drew Holiday shooting below 40%. Giannis is starting at free throw line. He's there like 60%. There is no Middleton. Grayson Allen is shooting 33% from the field. Like when you look at the stats, you just wonder how they won 6 games in a row, and it's all about Giannis. Is scoring 30 points like so effortless. Like it's not a great game, and you just check the stats, and he scored 35 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists, and lockdown defense. And yeah,
Yeah,
he's just
defense.
he's just
De-
making the team so much better and raising the ceiling for them so much.
Defense has been so good. The front court for that team of Giannis and Brook Lopez has been outstanding. Brook Lopez, by the way, has looked really, really good this season. A big reason why they are 6-0. Defensively, he's looked much improved to some previous seasons. Again, we're all, we understand it's a small sample size. It's
I,
really early in the season.
I would just like to mention one thing. They were struggling in the last season, in the regular season with defense because there was no Brook Lopez. And their signature defense with Brook Lopez is deep drop coverage and Drew Holiday point of attack defender and Giannis as a side helper. That's like the best possible trio you could have, and that's why they are now the best defense in the NBA.
Yeah, and they're making it work for that 6-0 record. They were my pick for the championship before the season. So far, so good for that team. But we want to move into the recap of yesterday's pick. We had Myles Turner over 2.5 blocks plus steals, and it was looking good early, guys. Myles Turner in the first half had 2 blocks, was getting minutes. We were happy with what we saw, but the Pacers, who were down big in the second half, made a huge comeback with their bench, which did not include Myles Turner. He struggled for playtime and ultimately left us hanging with 2. Only needed the 1 more. But, Pips, did you watch this game? Where did it go wrong maybe for this one?
Yeah, just as you said, the bench unit made a huge comeback, and he didn't have much time to hit this. I mean, 2 blocks in 20 minutes, that's on pace to hit over. So we can't
Yeah.
do much about it. And yeah,
I mean, yeah, we definitely have not had a winning record on the show after this would be that we just had our first week. Only 1 week. It's a small sample size. We take the full season stat sample size. So we'll be hopefully you take us generous here. I think the process has been good. We are getting good close on almost all of these bets. We tracked them on BetStamp to verify that. And for this Myles Turner one, you're saying DraftKings had this close at around minus 160. We got it at minus, what was it, minus 130, I think it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
So the bets are going in the right places. We're gonna have to trust our process here, and we're confident we're confident that Pips is giving out some good lines here. So hopefully there's recognition there. But let's go get some real winners. Enough of these moral victories here. Hopefully today we have 2 winners on not the biggest slate here, but first one we are gonna go to the Timberwolves, who are visiting the Phoenix Suns. We have a same game parlay here again. And Pips, why don't you take us through what you got here?
So my bets for this game are Devin Booker and Rudy Gobert. Devin Booker on points to score 25 plus points, and Rudy Gobert to score over 11 and a half rebounds. So I'll start with Rudy Gobert. Uh, he had some. The line is a bit lower, and I think that's the value there because in the last 4 games he played in San Antonio Spurs 3 times, and they they just did a great job boxing out on him and pulling him out of the rim, and he stayed under this in 2 out of the 3. But in the 4 games he didn't play San Antonio Spurs, he had 19 rebounds on average. Gone over this line in all 4 easy, and I think it's just the Spurs problem. Uh, Phoenix Suns there's no DeAndre Ayton. They played the last game Houston Rockets, the first game without Ayton, and Houston Rockets had 70 offensive rebounds, and
Wow.
they are not great rebounding team. So I think this is a smash spot for Gobert, and I think he could easily have 15 plus rebounds in this game if the game stays close, of course. And on the other side, we have Devin Booker, who scored 28 plus points in all but 1 game, and that game was the first one. He has the 29 points per game average. There is no Aiton, so they're playing Bismarck beyond but 5, so that's like he won't take more than 4 shots instead
Yep.
of 8. He was taking 15 a game. So it's Chris Paul is old and he's not shooting at all. He's just creating for others. So this is a spot for Devin to take 25 plus attempts a game, and with Minnesota defense is really struggling at the moment. They are trying to make Towns and Gobert work, and it's not working at all. They just had the easiest schedule in the league, so yeah, not exposed yet. But I think we'll see a lot of exposure tonight. And Rudy Gobert in a drop coverage, it's like open middies for Devin Booker whole game, and he's shooting over 50% of them this season, and this is
Wow.
a great spot for them.
Yeah, Devin Booker, primary matchup. I like to look at this. Of course, Anthony Edwards probably going to be guarding him quite a lot. I'm not saying Anthony Edwards isn't a good defender. He's not a great one. And Timberwolves, I'll give them benefit of the doubt. I'm really high on them this season. Rudy Gobert wasn't there in preseason. They didn't have time to iron out this difficult strategy defensively with both bigs playing. So a bit more time there, but we're in a spot right now where they haven't been defending well. So we got Booker there. And Biyombo in for the absent DeAndre Ayton. Basically, Biyombo actually probably a better rebounder, you could say, than Ayton. However, not going to be there all the time, not going to be getting a ton of minutes. I think the Suns go maybe small as well to combat the big team Timberwolves. So rebounds to be had for Rudy Gobert, like the spot here. We'll move into the next one, and the Chicago Bulls facing against the worst defense in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets, who just eked out the win against the Indiana Pacers yesterday. What do we got here?
So for this game, we have Zach LaVine over 22.5 points, which is minus 115 at DraftKings. And yeah, they are playing the worst defense. Nets are getting killed by every talented guys. They are allowing 5.6 threes to opposing shooting guards, which is by far the most in the league. Like the second place team is like 4, and they are at 5.6. I mean, over the last 5 games, we saw like way less talented players scoring over this line. We had Duarte scoring 30. We had Mathurin scoring 32. We have John Morant and Bain combining for almost 80 points. So if we just consider everything that's going on, they are on back-to-back. Simmons is playing at the 5 more minutes, so he won't cover Zach LaVine. I mean, that's pretty good for me. And I watched the last game of the Bulls. Zach LaVine played 32 minutes and scored 20 points, and he scored 18 points in 10 minutes when he was guarded by Harden or Maxey or Tobias Harris. And in 22 minutes, when he was guarded by Tybull, he scored only 2 points. So Tybull is probably the best one-on-one defender on the perimeter in the entire NBA league. So with Nets lacking any defense,
No defense.
besides Ben Simmons, who will probably be on DeRozan or playing the 5, I think this is a great spot for LaVine. He looked great, he's shooting great, and he was aggressive. So I think if he continues with aggressiveness, he'll clear this line pretty easily.
Yeah, and any concern about injury, guys, Zach LaVine has been confirmed that he will be playing today, so we do have him in action. Just pull up my odds screen here as well to show you guys. We got a good number here, 22.5 at DraftKings. FanDuel, who I consider to have and many consider to have a sharp player prop engine, already have this one at 23.5, so this is probably a timely one if you want to get in. There's a good number here at 22.5 if you want to go and grab that one. But, I mean, we've been talking about the Brooklyn Nets defense. It seems like every game they let somebody go off for 30-plus points. We're hoping Zach LaVine doesn't need 30. We'll need 23 tonight, and we can get a couple of winners and get ourselves on track with pick and roll. But that has been our show. I am Jacob Gramegna. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Jacob Gramegna or on my YouTube channel, Amateur Sports. You can find Pips on Twitter at PipsNBA. Both of our handles are listed below our faces. We go live on The Board NBA on Twitter, The Hammer HQ on Twitter, as well as The Board NBA on YouTube, as well as Twitch now for pick and roll every single weekday at 11:15 a.m. Eastern time. But if you can't catch the live streams, that is okay. You can still rewatch the show on any of those platforms, but also you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to get your podcasts if you can't catch it in time, as I mentioned. We're back tomorrow, 11:15 a.m. Eastern time. We hope to see you there, and we hope we have 2 winners to tell you about. See you next time.
Bye.